Let's call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Barbara, can you please call the roll?
We have Commissioners Parfrey, Sales, and Moss present.
Thank you. This will be broadcast, as all of you know, on Channel 35. Who's going to give the report for the GM report? Aram, are you going to do that today?
I talked to Mr. Nichols. We have nothing to report, Mr. President.
Okay. Comments or requests from the commissioners on operations? Commissioner Parfrey?
None at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Moss?
None.
Thank you. Public comment, I believe we have 3 speaker cards.
Yes, we have 3 speaker cards, and would the speakers please limit their comments to 2 minutes. The first speaker is Pat Brill, and after that, Martha Wittenberg.
Ms. Timekeeper, before you start my time, I'd like to just welcome Mr. Moss. This is mainly directed to him. You may begin. Mr. Moss, you're the new kid on the block, so this is going to be mainly for your ears because Commissioner Parfrey and Sales have heard me before. My name is Pat Brill. I live near the Upper Stone Canyon Reservoir, and I'm here to comment on the EIR that will be coming out in the near future and that you 5 commissioners will be voting on. I don't know what that EIR will say, but I have a sickening feeling that it is going to approve public access. And if that is the case, each of you will have a paramount decision to make that will affect thousands of lives. The community of Bel Air Ridge is absolutely opposed to public access in the canyon because of the likelihood of fire in that particular canyon. The vegetation in the Stone Canyon area has been classified by experts as the fastest burning ground cover in North America. The fire department will not even conduct controlled burns there anymore because of this reason. So the stupidity of an EIR sanctioning public access in such an area would be utterly reckless and irresponsible, and only you 5 individuals, you 3 and your 2 other colleagues, will have the power to stop this. Now, I know that there are a few homeowners who have been in bed with Seaport for over 30 years, whose houses look down on the canyon, and who want the view of hiking trails and want a park to enhance their property values, but it would be unconscionable to bend to the pressures of these few when there is a clear and present probability of disaster in that canyon. And let me tell you something else. There is a liability issue here for you guys, because now that you've been put on notice and now that you have been forearmed with Captain Franklin's fire report, I'm not so sure that your liability carrier would be forced to indemnify if there were a class action by the people down in Stone Canyon, by the people down in Lower Bel Air who are right in the path of the fire and whose homes were destroyed in '61. So there could be some personal exposure here, and please think about that for 1 minute. I just want to bring that to your attention because we live in such a litigious society. I can already see that, if there were a disaster, this is where it would end up. There should be a unanimous vote against any public access in order to assure that there wouldn't be any kind of action against you guys. I think every single person should vote against it.
Could you wrap up your remarks, please?
I pray that you guys will do the right thing because, believe me, I know whereof I speak. Anyone care to comment before I have to leave?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Martha Wittenberg.
Hello, my name is Martha Wittenberg, and I represent over 700 people who have signed petitions in opposition to the DWP's planned project for Stone Canyon Reservoir, Upper Reservoir. And in addition to opposing public access, these people, and here are all the petitions, and I want you also to see that these people had to go to the trouble of actually signing the petition, then addressing an envelope, stamping it, and sending it to our mailbox. And I've given other people on the commission lists of the people who signed this petition. But the point I want to make today is that DWP is in negotiations with CPOR, and CPOR is supposed to be a representative of the communities around the reservoir, representing our voice. And unfortunately, CPOR is represented by 3 homeowners organizations, only one of which holds open board meetings. And that organization, Bel Air Ridge, has come out against this project in the canyon. The other two organizations do not hold open board meetings and do not publicize their minutes. So some of the people who have signed these petitions live in those organizations, in those homeowners associations, and they have no idea what their boards are up to. So I just want you to be aware that people like me who live across from Stone Canyon and my neighbors and the 700 or so other people who've been left out of this process are adamantly opposed to a $200 million project that could be done for $35 million, which, by the way, everyone here in this room will have to fund if it is, in fact, chosen in the EIR process. And so I just want you to know that we oppose the expenditure of funds in this dire economy. It's the last thing we need. And also, we oppose any public access to a canyon that could produce a fire like the 1961 Bel Air fire. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Armando Orozco.
Hi. My name is Armando Orozco, and I represent a group of nurseries from the San Fernando Valley. And we are a group of 5 people, but 1 doesn't came today. My English is not really good. I want to try to explain in my short English, wherever I feel. Most of us, we are using lands under the power lines. And those lands, we are been working for many years. And now the Department of Water and Power want to put our lands that we are using for more than 10 years in actions. They want to put each other to compete for who make the best bet or the best to take an house from the same property. The other thing is we want, if you want to put these lands in actions, you have a lot of empty lands and everywhere that you can put it in actions, and you can give you opportunity and other people to use it, but not the lands that we are using when we work for so many years and we have a big investment in that land. What we want is this kind of lands, nobody uses it. We are making a favor to the Water and Power because we are using lands, we keep it clean, we also help the communities. We give you free plants to the schools, we give you free plants to the cities, and we try to be okay with the rest of the people around us. What we want is to see, we want, if we can give you the lease, a contract for 10 years or more, because what happened when they try to put us in action, we don't know what to do because we are scared. We don't know what else to do. We already came many times to here, and what we try is to find a solution to this problem. Also, we also want to say to the Water and Power, because we are on those power lines, we use a lot of water. The water price for us is pretty high. We want to see if they can give you an equal water for everybody, the same water. If we are in the business for nursery, to give you the same water for everybody, one economic price that we can use it. Because right now the economy is really bad, and everybody knows. We are in one situation, very delicate, and we are surviving. We are not making money. We only try to survive, and we try to see if we can resist. That's all. So that's why we came here. I apologize because my English is not really good. I try to do the best that I can.
Your English is fine. It's far better than my Spanish.
So, most of us, we represent a lot of people who are in the same situation. My friends right here, each one of us, we are using lands for the Water and Power. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last card for number 4.
Okay. Are there items from the consent agenda that any of the commissioners would like to pull?
None for me.
Mr. Parker?
No, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I do have to make an announcement.
I'm sorry.
That for Item number 7.
Yes.
The agenda description is fine, but the agreement number should be 47036-1.
But the agreement was properly described in the
Yes.
materials? Okay. All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with that?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no objection, the consent agenda is approved. We are now up to item 13, I think. Item 13. Who's going to make the presentation?
I have Bassam give the details, but Mr. President, this is a routine cable replenishment contract for our different voltage levels that will supply cable to our normal business expansion and also our reliability programs. And I'll have Bassam explain the efforts that we went through to separate the contracts in order for us to diversify the bidding pool, and also to explain, how we came about, reaching out to the suppliers and then the results of the bidding.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
afternoon.
Bassam Abu Shakra, Power System Engineering. This specification is divided into multiple groups, so we can get multiple awards. And we did receive multiple bidders, and we're recommending award to 3 different companies. Now, some of the companies can bid partial, and some can bid complete. So we got 3 companies that bid complete on all 5 groups, and we got some companies that only bid partial. Now, this contract will allow us to buy a maximum of about 800,000 feet of cable, which is a very large number. But if you look at what we have in the ground and we have in industrial station, I mean, we got over 4,000 industrial and customer stations and distributing stations and receiving stations, generating stations. And the number of what we have in service is over 20 million feet. So historically, we've used especially now, copper is at a very high value. Right now it's about $4.50. I mean, 10 years ago, copper was at 70 cents a pound. $3 to $5 million was okay. But now, and copper at $4.60 and people projecting maybe higher, we're looking at an annual expenditure between $12 to $15 million.
Questions, comments? So why don't you talk a little bit about the outreach you did on this contract?
Yes. One of the company that we're recommending award is One Source Distributor, which is a minority business enterprise. And we did mention that in the board letter. And also, transportation is really the only one that could be subcontract. However, one company, Taihan, which is based out in South Korea, to bring the cable from South Korea to Port of LA, they use large companies. But to bring it from the Port of LA to our stores, they have been using on previous contracts, and they will be using on this contract minority business enterprises. Okay. The other company, which is based out of Mexico, Conductores Monterrey, and that's what the One Source is distributor. Normally, they pick transportation companies near their location. So it's either Texas or the state of Nuevo Leon. So now, like I said, we did broke it down into separate groups based on the voltage rating or based on the construction type. So we got new company like Annixter was a new company that bid for the first time. A partial bid. We got Elgin that bid a partial bid.
Okay. Other questions from the?
Yeah. How long will this wire keep you for? I mean, is it about for 1 year, or is it?
Well, this contract is for 1 year with 2 optional years. Now, what's the average service of cable? It's very hard to determine, but Marmoon.
About 70 years. Well, as far as how long the cable lasts.
No. I mean, how much of this cable will you use, and over time, how long will this 800,000?
When will you be back with another request?
Yeah. We'll be back in 3 years.
3 years. So this will last you for 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I know we're not supposed to be hedging, but last contract we felt the prices were very competitive. And we know that because we know what we're paying right now. Mm-hmm. So we really order whatever the maximum we can allow to store. Sure. And there was, multi-million-dollar saving, just the fact that we order whatever we could last year.
Well,
the contract expired last year. I'm sorry?
Commodity prices were lower. So
yeah. Yes. And then also back in end of, I believe, 2000, the financial crisis, back in end of 2008, South Carolina. Copper went down to $1.70, $1.50. So we put an order for $7.5 million at that time, which is almost 1 year. Normally we order quarterly. These have quarterly price adjustment based on 3 indices: the rubber and plastic, and that's based on BLS, which is Federal Government Index, or American Metal Market for copper and aluminum. Now, what happens if we don't have these indices? We will not get bidders. If we don't do quarterly price adjustment, they're taking a big risk.
We'll keep enough to get us going on the operations side because we have a 25% minimum purchase, but we will adjust based on the forecast that we have.
Okay.
I think you should be commended on your, I won't call it hedging, but foresight. Think ahead in the market. Other questions? Is there a motion to approve the item?
There is.
A second?
Hearing no objection, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your foresight.
All right, thank you.
Item 14. Sorry.
Matt Lamp, Chief Information Officer. Item
I'm
4.
sorry, we couldn't hear you.
Matt Lamp, is this on?
I don't think the mic's on.
Try the other mic.
Okay.
We want to hear every word. So.
Okay, this one's on. All right. Matt Lamp, Chief Information Officer, LADWP. This is a contract amendment. It, without extending time, adds $15,260,000 to our software commodity contract. That contract was bid out about 9 months ago and was awarded by the board for a 3-year contract. That agreement went through a lengthy competitive process that led to award of a new vendor, but for a process we'd used very successfully for 3 years. It essentially allows us to expedite the acquisition of software for critical projects and to continue licensing and maintenance agreements on that software. When this contract was established, the CIS project was not at a point where we knew what software we were going to use. We were just bringing on the system integrator, who then took us through a many-month process of software selection. We knew at the time that software was going to be selected between Oracle and SAP. They're really the only 2 vendors who can support us at our scale. And there were multiple ways we could have purchased the software. We have an Oracle contract, but it would require amendment if we had chosen SAP. Airports had a contract, or we could have used this agreement as the vehicle. We put a placeholder in here for some money, but we did not want to identify how much money we were expecting to pay on CIS software. So we went through the selection process, and we did an extensive negotiation with Oracle. We had with us our quality assurance consultant, 5 Point Partners, who was approved by the board as our quality assurance consultant on this project in 2009 after a competitive selection for that role, who has probably the most extensive knowledge of the actual price paid by major purchases of CIS software in the country. They've been involved in many, many selections and negotiations. So we had a very good idea of what we were trying to achieve in our negotiations. And that was a negotiation that John Chen and I tag-teamed on Oracle, he from the customer services side and myself from the IT side. And we achieved what we felt was a very good negotiation with Oracle to achieve 3 major objectives: to get the best purchase price, to minimize the risk of us having to go back and later add lots of items. We knew there would be some because there were some things we expected we'd have to buy that weren't productized yet, so they couldn't be included in the initial negotiation. And then to drive down as much as possible the ongoing support costs. And we think we achieved that. The highlight of that, probably that's the most significant, was that we got Oracle to agree to an 18% maintenance amount going forward for all the CIS-related software, as opposed to their standard 22%. And there are very few 18% agreements. There are a few out there on very, very large system purchases, but they're very, very rare. They basically require the approval of the either the president or Larry Ellison to get that level of agreement. And that was achieved here, and that has, since this is software we will be maintaining for many, many years, it has a significant value to it.
Excuse me,
yeah.
Mr. Lamb, what 18% of what?
18% of the actual purchase price. So you pay 18% per year to maintain the software, and that gives you the rights to all upgrades, patches, and if there are issues you see with the software, to be able to escalate through Oracle support. So for large system software, we maintain it, and being able to achieve that 4% per year savings ends up to be very significant. We also achieved for the first 10 years sort of a reduction in what the pricing increase that they're allowed to add each year was. Overall, we estimate that those two factors together, taking the purchase price and compared to escalating it through the normal escalation and the normal 22% maintenance, saved about $25 million out over the 20-year expected life. It did mean we had to use this contract vehicle, and basically we drained a significant amount of money out of the contract vehicle, and that's why we're here to basically replenish 2 years, for the next 2 years, the amount we would need in that contract vehicle. Before we did that, we reviewed with the various systems what they had in their budgets, given the budget reductions that we've been going through, to make sure that we were meeting their expectations but not creating any significant cushion for future software purchases. The water system did identify a couple purchases that they wanted to use the agreement for, and so we made sure we accommodated those in this amendment. So essentially it's replacing the amount of money we spent on the CIS purchase, but we need an amendment to allow us to go forward.
Questions from the commissioners?
Well, my first question is, when the contract was originally approved in May 2010, I know there was a $4 million placeholder put in there, but was there any indication given to the board, I was not around, obviously, that you would be coming back for $15 million in addition to the contract?
We didn't say give a specific amount. We didn't say. We were trying to be somewhat circumspect because we didn't want to get the negotiations on this software can get very sensitive. It's not a list price sticker. And
I guess I'm not talking about a specific dollar amount advised to the board, but did you advise the board that there would be some multiple of that $4 million placeholder, or that there was a possibility it could be 3 or 4 times as much when the board approved the contract originally?
We were not specific about it, and part of that was because we didn't know this was the vehicle we would end up using. So we could have put 12 million, 10 million, 15 million in, but it would basically float as contingency and give a very clear signal of how much money we're sitting on expecting to pay in the negotiations. So, no, we did not.
Other questions?
Yes. Mr. Lamp, the timeline as currently envisioned for having the CIS software up and running, what is that?
First quarter 2013.
And if this contract was put out for competitive bid, what would the timeline be for getting the...
It wouldn't affect, you mean if we had instead of...
If we had, rather than do it this
It
way.
would have put us back roughly a year, and it would have been, there would have been an issue with If we put the Oracle software out specifically, there's really no way to put it out specifically, because while they have resellers, any significant negotiation you want to do in terms of price, and we're talking in some aspects, some of the software we're getting at 60, 70, 80% discounts off list, has to be basically an individual negotiation approved at the highest level in Oracle. So yes, you could put it out. What you'd basically be getting is 2 or 3 of their resellers coming back to you with the same proposal as to what Oracle would give you. Now, what ended up happening here, because our software commodity contract has I think a 0.9% overhead, the final agreement we reached with Oracle, they then backed down the 0.9%, so they ate the 0.9% on this one from the number that we had finally negotiated. So while CompuCom got that, it basically came out of Oracle's amount, and that probably would have happened with any bidder there.
I guess I'm trying to get at another idea here, which is that we want this new CIS software up and running, and
Yes.
if we didn't use this contract mechanism at this time,
How would we have been?
it would delay that process.
It would have delayed it substantially, because we had our SI on board. Once we completed the selection, there was still 2 or 3 months worth of work before we were ready to start implementing. Basically, once you start the implementation, one of the earliest steps you do is something called fit gap analysis. And to do that, you need to have a demo version of the software up and running. So you have to basically procured your software by that time. There is no mechanism we have that we could have done any sort of competitive process without adding some significant delay to that. If we had gone to the Oracle contract, that would have needed an amendment, which we have coming forward anyway, because we're getting near the end of that, and this adds to the ongoing maintenance that we will cover out of that contract that has to go to council, because it's an extension beyond 5 years. So, you know, if you look at the process there, you're adding 2 to 4 months just to get the CAO's report back, and then to the board, then back to council, and then we could proceed. So yes, it would have, any other mechanism would have added considerably to the duration.
Do you anticipate additional amendments to this contract agreement?
At this point, I do not. I think we've done a good job of estimating what we have to purchase through here, and we would, if it looks like we're for any reason going to run out earlier, we would just start the competitive process to replace the CompuCom contract as a new commodities agreement and bring that back to the board.
But I just a point of clarification. So this contract's with CompuCom.
Correct.
They're buying from Oracle. We're not buying directly from Oracle.
That's correct. They're a reseller agreement, but we had special terms and conditions reviewed that were attached to this agreement that were reviewed by our attorneys that to identify all those special conditions, like the 18%, like the frozen, but the license grant is from Oracle.
Yeah.
Right? Only Oracle licenses their software.
I appreciate that. What are we aware of what the price is to CompuCom for the Oracle, or what the price of the license is from Oracle?
We know that the CompuCom contract has a specific markup that's the maximum, the markup they can put. That was part of their competitive process of selecting CompuCom as our sort of vehicle for buying buying software. And that's 0.9% is all they're allowed to mark up any purchase. So in this case, we negotiated an agreement with Oracle. Oracle then backed out lowered the price by the 0.9% that they gave to CompuCom, so CompuCom could put the 0.9% back on and give it to us, so our payment was the price we had negotiated with Oracle.
Okay.
Other questions? Is there a motion?
There is.
Second?
Second.
Hearing no objection, the item passes. Thank you. I think we're up to filed items. We've got 2 monthly reports, the Joint Systems Report and the FSO report. Any questions on those?
Yeah, I do have a question on the joint system report, particularly the delinquent revenue collection. There's a rep.
You can answer the questions?
Yes.
On delinquent, oh, okay, John.
Who's gonna answer? Gary?
Mr. Wong.
Okay, Mr. Wong. In the report, again, I'm seeing that there are delinquent accounts with LA County, Caltrans, USC, and GSD because of billing compliance problems. What is the amount that these entities owe, and when can we expect these billing compliance problems to be taken care of and their accounts be made current?
Let me get back to you with a detailed report.
Okay, perhaps at the next meeting then?
Yes.
I appreciate
We can
that.
put it in under questions for operations in the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions from file?
Yes, I would like to ask Ms. Santilli, where are we right now in under collections on in the power system?
On the energy cost adjustment factor,
Yes.
right now we have an under collection of approximately $158 million. So that is an improvement where we started the fiscal year of $51 million. And we do provide a chart in the back of the report that shows what we expected and how we're improving.
Please.
Say that again?
Yes. You said it's an improvement, and it seemed to have grown by $100 million.
Actually, no. For the fiscal year to date, our costs were $1,166 million, and our revenue was $1,217 million. So we have been able to reduce the under collection on the energy cost adjustment factor, but we still have a significant outstanding balance of $158 million.
It's very important to repeat that publicly. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Other questions on the filed items? The deemed filed?
Okay.
I think we're going into closed session. We need an admonition from our lawyer here.
All right, thank you. The board shall publicly report any action in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with Section 54-957.1 of the California Government Code.
Okay, so we will go into closed session. We'll have it here so we can clear the room. Thank you so much.